Hey guys, we are back for another day of Read Along with Elaine, and we are reading from The Blue Witch. And as you can see, we are reading outside to get some fresh air this week, so I hope you guys are getting outside as well. Now, we left off on chapter 15 where Hugo and Abigail met up and they were discussing the secret note that Fetch wrote to Odin, and they were able to decipher it and see the Dark One rises. And also Abigail got the Sea Emerald to work to camouflage her magic. All right, so we're going to pick up in chapter 16. Autumn had come and gone, dropping the temperature and leaving a layer of frost in the mornings. Life at the Tarkana Academy was much easier now that Abigail could use her magic. She was passing all her classes and had quickly risen to Madame Arisa's top student in spectacular spells. She and Hugo still met under the jukeberry tree when they could, although they hadn't learned anything new about her magic. With Yule Day fast approaching and Dara led the firstlings with the highest marks, closely followed by a witchling named Portia, the most beautiful firstling in their class. Abigail was catching up, but unless a miracle happened, she wouldn't have a chance at winning head witchling. She followed a throng of girls into the Animals, Beasts, and Creatures class. Her ABC's instructor, Madame Barbosa, reminded Abigail of a cat. She could swear the teacher even had thin whiskers under her nose, and when she was happy with the students' work, she purred softly. Abigail sat next to Minxie, ignoring Indira's glare. The girl still hadn't forgiven Abigail for getting her detention. Indira's anger put a small smile on Abigail's face as Madame Barbosa took her place at the front of the classroom. Today we will be learning how to charm a wild creature. There is a hierarchy of creatures the Tarkanas have created. The lowest is the Wraithos, then Shrieks, Sneevils, the Shinkara, and of course the mighty Omera. She held up a drawing of an Omera. Wings spread wide, its sleek, scaly body was black as night, and its pointed beak was lined with razor-sharp teeth. A spiked tail curved over its back, ready to strike a death blow. The mighty Omera cannot be tamed by any but the strongest of witches. They will as soon tear the flesh from your bones as allow you to ride them. Abigail raised her hand. Have you ever seen a Viking? Madame Barbosa froze. Her mouth opened and closed. Abigail Tarkana, why ever would you ask such a thing? Abigail shrugged. I heard about one in a story. Vikings don't exist, at least not anymore. Centuries ago, before the Tarkanas ran the coven, our ancestor, Vina Volgrim, created one, but it was deemed too vicious for even a Volgrim witch to handle, and the beast was put down. Madame Barbosa dabbed at her forehead with a silk handkerchief, then pasted a smile back on her face. Enough talk of ancient beasts. Let us first conquer the simplest of creatures. Observe. She whipped a black cloth off a cage. Inside, a hissing shriek gnawed at the bars, its wings unfurling. Red eyes glared at them as green spittle dripped from its open mouth. Never touch shriek spittle, she warned, putting on a pair of gloves. It can burn like acid. Now, to tame this shriek, I must use my charm spell. Madame Barbosa held up a hand, waving it in front of the winged rodent. Meliona Stella Calera. The shriek stopped hissing. Its red eyes glazed over, then turned black as its pupils dilated. She opened the cage and lifted the creature out, setting it on the table. Fetch me that chalk, she said, pointing. The shriek dutifully flapped over to the board. It took the chalk in its beak and returned to drop it in her hand. She rubbed her knuckles over its head and then put it back in the cage. Madame Barbosa unveiled another wild shriek. Who would like to try? Hands shot up. Indira, why don't you have a go? Indira smugly got up and took a stance. holding her hands in front of her. Melionas Stella Calira! The shriek kept on hissing and spitting at her. Try again, dear, Madame Barbossa said. Louder this time. Melionas Stella Calira, she shouted. The shriek stopped hissing, slowly folding its wings. Now open the door, careful not to touch it. And Dara reached out and gingerly undid the latch. The shriek hopped onto the lip of the cage, awaiting her instructions. With a sly grin, Andera said, Go fetch her. She swung around, pointing right at Abigail. Abigail sat up straight, not sure she had heard correctly. Before she could hide, the shriek was circling her head, diving at her face, grabbing at her with its claws. She screamed, batting at it and sending it flying across the room. The shriek careened into a large cage, knocking it off the table and breaking it open. A dozen shrieks flew out. Soon the room was filled with screeching shrieks and screaming girls. Madame Vex barged into the room. What is the meaning of this? This is the second time you've disturbed my magical math class. Her fist shot in the air, and a blast of crackling witchfire shot out, sending the shrieks squealing for the safety of the cages. She whirled around to glare at the class. What kind of firstling can't handle a simple shriek? I should send you all back to the creche this instant. Madame Barbossa swept forward. There, Madame Vex, we're just learning our first charm spell. I'm sure they can do better. I'll expect them to prove that. What about a competition? To see who can bespell the most powerful creature, Madame Barbossa purred. Yes, a competition, Madame Vex said. We will send them out into the swamps to capture and tame a creature. The swamps? Madame Barbossa's hand fluttered nervously. Isn't that dangerous for a firstling? Madame Vex snorted. This unruly bunch seem able to handle anything. We can use the challenge to weed out the less capable ones. What kind of creature? Portia asked. Madame Barbossa spread her hands. Oh, anything that lives on this island. We will have a showing in, say, 3 days. She looked at Madame Vex. The headmistress nodded. The remainder of your classes will be cancelled until the competition is over. The witchling with the most powerful creature will earn enough credits to be declared head witchling for her class for the rest of the year. Ooh, the girls began whispering excitedly to each other, visions of the head witchling pin dancing in their eyes. But be warned, she held up one finger. Failure to capture a creature will result in immediate expulsion. That silenced the chatters. A mixture of dread and excitement thrummed through Abigail as class was dismissed. Getting named head witchling was like being named the most popular girl in school. She had a vision of herself swanning into the dining hall wearing the gold pin and having all the girls clamor to sit with her. All she had to do was go into the swamp and... A sudden wave of fear washed over her. Go into the swamp? Where the Viking was? She shifted uneasily in her seat. She should warn Madame Barbossa about the beast. The girls would be out in the swamps alone. But if she said something, Madame Barbossa was sure to tell Madame Vex, which was bound to lead to more questions. Her thoughts muddled, she left the classroom and ran smack into Calla in the hall. So, was I right? The witchling's voice was cool. About what? Did your Balfin friend ask you for some magic? Abigail fumed. So what if he did? Then I proved my point. He only likes you for your magic. She turned and flounced off. Oh, Oh, and that's the end of chapter 16. I like that chapter. What a fun chapter to be seeing what they're doing in the ABCs class, learning how to charm a creature. And of course, what does Andera do? Something totally predictably mean and sicks the shrieks right on in Abigail, which causes the whole class to go into chaos. So what are we going to do? We're going to go on to chapter 17 after this, where they're going to probably go into the swamps and go looking for their creatures. So I can't wait to read about that. So all right, guys, you know what you can do in the meantime? You can click on the link in the description of the video and do some of the fun worksheets that go with today's video. And otherwise, I want you guys to get outside like I am, have some fun, get some fresh air, and above all, stay healthy, stay happy. And Miss Elaine will be back tomorrow for another day of Read Along with Elaine, all right? Elaine out.